On today's Altered TCG podcast episode, I'll be talking about the three main topics. In Deep into the Mechanics section, let's take a deep dive about out-of-faction mechanics. How is it better than multicolor card system? In Community Spotlight, I picked a question posted on Reddit regarding to POD and expanded on its impact on altered economics. As the main topic of the episode, we will conclude with theory crafting. I will be translating the Magic Gathering Classic Strategy Guide, Who's the Beatdown article in altered way. Let's get started. The official release date is delayed for a couple weeks in order to achieve simultaneous retail release across the world. The new release date is September 13. The Kickstarter delivery plan is not affected. On the official Discord channel, new weekly spoiler plan has been posted. Monday will be art spoil, Tuesday will be card spoil, Wednesday lore spoil, Friday carte blanche, which is game designer's short comment about newly revealed card. Sunday will be community portrait. The previously rumored possibility of difference between booster pack cards and print-on-demand cards has now been officially added to FAQ. There will be difference due to Cartamundi's printing technology difference. Specifically, booster packs cards, which uses offset printing, could have miscentered QR code and no varnish effect. In contrast, print-on-demand cards, which I assume use digital printing, have perfect center and varnish effect. It is important to note that these differences are not created intentionally by design to allow distinction between offset and POD. Equinox will look to improve the process in the future, so there will be no difference. Personally, this is a quite relieving statement. With such statement and plan, I highly doubt there will be any significant monetary value difference between the booster pack offset and print-on-demand cards. The first Ask Me Anything AMA video series since the Kickstarter campaign focused on the organized play discussion. The first half of the live stream was related to Gamma presentation itself. For the first year, there will be three types of organized plays. Local game shop hosted weekly events called expeditions. Main organized social event, including the real competitive event, is temporarily called Confluence. The last is Altered World Championship event, temporarily called Musubi. During the core set period, Expedition will be the only form of organized play available. Equinox will provide free kit to local game shops that supports expeditions in their supported countries. The kit will contain 8 promo packs, and now plan to add 9th one. These packs allow top 8 attendee to receive a packet, and the 9th one can be used flexibly by the local game shop. Content of promo packs will be random, rare, or unique cards, rare or unique foiler, one of 4 alternative art, or one of 6 promo heroes. Season 2 promo pack is planned to be different, and hinted something better may be on its way. One of the interesting systems in the altered organized play is Adventure Pass. This sounds like login bonus on mobile games translated into physical TCG. In this system, we can earn a level whenever we attend an official organized play event. At the end of season, we can get all the prizes to the achieved level digitally. These prizes include digital badge, alternative arts that are only available through Adventure Pass. Alternative arts are always spell or permanent to avoid unique rarity complexity. The new information here is that these passes are faction bound. On the first event attendance, we choose a faction to affiliate. The alternative art we can acquire during the season is for that chosen faction. There are our family of cards from the given faction. At level 5 we get common, at level 10 and 14 in-faction and out-of-faction rares of the same family. This sounds like it is impossible for any player to complete all alternative art by just playing, so trading would be required for collectors. Hence, these alternative art may become valuable. It's important to note that faction choice doesn't bound us to play just that faction. While chosen affiliation does not change during the season, we can change the actual deck to attend organized play from one faction to another when playing. One season lasts about 4 months, which is the time between new set release. The real competitive events, Confluence and Musubi names are still not finalized. The current roadmap for Confluence are one in US and one in Europe after each expansion. Then at the time of 1-year anniversary of Altered launch, the World Championship is planned, which will likely take place in Paris. Anyone can attend Confluence with a fee. Musubi will be invitational event, which are likely based on preceding Confluence events result. The prizes for these events are not yet fully decided, but money is on the table. This could include travel expense coverage. Besides rewarding top faction player, the latter within each faction may be a possibility. The launch event for new set is a possibility. However, regular booster pack opening may not work in this situation. So the developers are still working on this. One possibility mentioned is faction pack. This would certainly be interesting. Personally, another interesting information mentioned during the AMA is a potential of solo play. This was very briefly mentioned in the context of a viewer's question, will there be a variety of formats for the main event in the Confluence? As an example, teams and solo main events and everything is possible were mentioned. So the word solo here may be just a random example, but seeing Magic, Flesh and Blood, and other TCGs have tried or are trying solo PvE, and amount of lore Altered has, I can only hope for this someday. I like to take a deep dive into game's mechanics. It can help me to understand designers' stance about the game and speculate how the game will evolve over the time. The TCG as a game genre is built to stimulate this because we all expect new set to overhaul existing gameplay with every few months, which isn't typical for other game genre. So in the Deep into Mechanics series, I will take a closer look at some games design related topic and put my own thought about it. Today, let's take a look at out-of-faction mechanics in place of more commonly seen hybrid multicolor cards in other TCGs. In Altered, there is a notion of a family of cards. This refers to the fact that each card in Altered have other variations. Specifically, every character type cards have 5 variants: common, rare, and unique in the main faction of the character. Then, there are rare and unique rarity variants in one of the other faction, which are referred to as out-of-faction. For spells and permanents, there is no unique rarity, so they have 3 family members, common and rare for main faction and 1 out-of-faction rare. When playing a game that uses a card pool isolation system like Altered, it's natural to think that the potential of multicolor card. So one card can be shared in more than one faction. While it may not obvious at the first glance, out-of-faction is Altered way of multi-faction. There are several benefits of having multicolor card in a game with card pool isolation. For the players, the main advantage is that one card can expand multiple card pools. Thematically, multicolor card gives the special link between 2 factions. Designers can reuse the same art. All of these multicolor card benefits are fully covered by out-of-faction mechanics. So what is the pros and cons of using out-of-faction design rather than traditional multi-faction approach? One of the main downsides of using multi-faction card is the potential risk of diluting the faction identity. Imagine an extreme hypothetical case where we have 10 staple power level Bravo Izmir multi-faction card. In such meta, every competitively built Bravo and Izmir decks will have 10 less slots for their deck identity, Many players consider playstyle variance as the strength of TCG genre, so something that would dilute this can be viewed as a con. Since out-of-faction cards can have their own stat and text that is different from original faction card, these are essentially original card for a given faction from player's perspective. This flexibility allows designers to limit or completely eliminate identity loss amongst the factions. The potential drawback of out-of-faction when compared to multi-faction card is we have to physically own twice more cards. While multi-faction card system would have required only a single playset to cover two factions, out-of-faction would require player to own main and out-of-faction playset separately. So some may consider this is extra cost to collect cards. Up until this point, we've been talking about the construct format in Altered. In limited format, there is additional layer of card pool restriction due to the pool of open packs. In this situation, the difference between multicolor card and out-of-faction design is significant. However, Altered draft format allows mixing up to 3 factions without any penalty. What this means is that in draft, any card is now essentially a multi-faction card in this format. While I have not played any limited format game yet, I surmise drafting Altered would feel much more closer to the game like Magic the Gathering in contrast to the game like Flesh and Blood. This is a great thing. What do you think about out-of-faction mechanics in Altered? Are you excited or worried? Do you still want to see multi-faction card? If so, why? Please share in the comment section. In Community Spotlight series, I like to pick some Altered community discussion topic or any other Altered related topic originate from the community. Today I picked a question posted on Altered TCG Reddit channel. How feasible would it be to order print-on-demand cards in bulk as a LGS or community member with a print set collection, i.e., one copy of each mechanically different card? This was written in the context of those no digital right owning intention. Basically so-called casual player who have no intent to play on organized event. The short answer to question is highly feasible. As we can see, official website FAQ specifically mentions about group purchase. However, to me, this question seems to be much deeper. What's the real impact on print-on-demand to player, local game shop, and even to Equinox? Many seem to believe print-on-demand would be great for casual players, but some are concerned about negative impact on local game shop. Let's take a closer look at how print-on-demand will help or could potentially hurt the game's economy. I believe answer to this relies on 2 fundamental questions. How much is print-on-demand? Who will be using print-on-demand? At the time of this recording, the things we know about print-on-demand are, other than exclusives such as promo or alternative arts, POD is unlimited. There will be bulk order discount, no price difference between foil or non-foil. We still do not know how much the actual POD cost. From what I can find on Google, high-quality Magic the Gathering proxy is listed for 75 cents per card. Flesh and Blood common and rare playset on eBay are selling at $45. These playset bundle consist 500 to 600 cards. This means each card is priced 7 to 9 cents. The third number to look is how much Altered is charging for a card. Altered Booster Pack will contain 11 non-token non-hero cards, and each packs are priced at $4 per pack. This means each cards are valued at 37 cents on average in a pack. Using these numbers as a reference, my guess for a print-on-demand price is somewhere between 10 cents to 75 cents per card with bulk discount. Using these numbers, 40 cards deck print-on-demand will be priced between $4 to $30. As for reference, normal Altered Precon starter deck retail price is $15. The core set consists 722 cards, so this calculates to be $72 to $541. For the playset, we are looking for 3 times this. Who will be using print on demand? The original copy of card in other games is the digital copy in Altered. Physical cards, whether offset or print on demand print without digital offset, are proxy analog in other TCGs because you cannot participate in official organized play events or use those cards on the official digital platform without digital copy. For the purpose of this, I divide consumers into 5 groups: competitive player, investor, collector, casual player with extended play, proxy player. Competitive player may use print on demand to ensure they have enough card supply so cards won't be counted as marked. I think this is a perfect use of POD. There should be no negative economical impact to LGS as these players just continue to purchase their cards either from digital marketplace, local game shop, including digital asset copy. Proxy card resale does not seem to be big enough incentive for profit margin to investors, so I do not believe they would use print on demand for this. The exception is exclusive card due to once per year limit on the print on demand and legality of those cards even without owning digital copy of the exclusive version. It will be interesting to see how much these cards without digital asset to be sold, but I do not believe they have any negative impact on local game shop. In fact, local game shop may be selling these. Collector's mentality is interesting. Many people collect something for the self-achievement satisfaction and bragging rights. I do not believe proxy collection satisfy these for most people. Even if there were those people who can get satisfaction with proxy collection, most of these people would not have been collector if there wasn't print on demand option. So there is no real loss for local game shop or Equinox from these proxy collectors. Print on demand service seems perfect for casual players who wants to extend their play mode. These are players who buy typical products such as booster packs, pre-con decks, and participate on trading singles with digital assets. They could use print on demand so they can play with friends or family without worrying about damaging cards or owning extra number of copies beyond the playset. In fact, I fall under this category myself. I have not been able to play TCG with my kids beyond starter decks because I did not feel comfortable sharing my $1,000 deck. The last group is what I call proxy player. These are a group of people who do not buy any official product but just play with proxy cards. For Altered, this would be those who buys print-on-demand cards but not owning digital copy. If proxy player from other TCG discovers Altered and start playing Altered, I think there is zero economical impact on Altered, as these players weren't meant to spend money in Altered in first place, so there is no loss here. The question becomes, do you think there are other 4 categories of consumer who may be converted to this group, and hence local game shop will lose their potential revenue from Altered if there wasn't print on demand? My personal take is no. TCG have many appeal, but it's not for everyone. Cost factor is something often decided before consumer determines to play the TCG or not. What print on demand in this situation offers is try game first before buying. Since Altered isn't a big IP, I believe people who would try out Altered are those who have genuine interest in this game. So I believe other 4 category of consumers will just remain in their role. On the other hand, I actually wonder the game may attract more proxy players than other TCGs, and as a result, some of them may convert themselves into non-proxy player eventually. Now, beyond my personal take, let's take a look at what Equinox is saying about this. One of the most important stance by Equinox is that they do not plan to sell cards, boosters, or digital boosters directly. This is crucial as otherwise Equinox can bypass local game shop completely and consumers may not see any reason to buy from local game shop. Now, this does not mean they won't give away promo, alternative art, as an event prize. In fact, we've already seen this from Roadshow event, announced Adventure Pass prizes, and so on. The difference here is that they are all free and not competing against local game shops selling products. Another interesting information from FAQ is example of online trading only store option. From local game shop standpoint, they can save precious store space. This would be extremely valuable for those stores do not have online selling capability. Since Altered official app takes care of this, they can now participate on online sales. And those shops who have online store, they can now target people around the world rather than those who know your store name. They also mention about the feature where it helps to keep certain number of physical copies on stock in store. So players can just buy from local game shop whenever they need without waiting for print-on-demand shipping. Now, we know which type of consumer print-on-demand may benefit and how it could impact local game shop. But what about Equinox themselves? The obvious answer is Equinox should not be negatively impacted, otherwise they would not have done this. As a consumer, we should see healthy profit on Equinox, so they will continue supporting the game. In other TCGs, developer makes nothing from proxy. However, with official print-on-demand service, Equinox will be making money for every proxy printed. Now, we are coming back to the pricing of print-on-demand. Picking the right price here is extremely important, as the price will have impact on the physical card value and booster pack value. If they picked a way over price, nobody would ever use it. Then print-on-demand becomes just a gimmick and bad reputation will go out, which is not a good thing for a feature the game is advertising as one of the sales points. But also counterintuitively, they cannot pick a price that is too low, because if they do so, everyone just order print-on-demand, and at that point, physical cards have no value at all. I personally believe the sweet spot is probably around 25 to 50 cents per card, which is based on booster pack and pre-con deck values. Using a lower end price estimate, reprinting entire pre-con deck would be $10. For $5 more, you can get official pre-con deck with digital right, but you have still saved over 30%. So I think it's a good value. When compared to $4 booster pack where you get 11 non-token cards, this would calculate $2.75 to $5.50 for the same number of cards. Again, without digital right, I think these are reasonably priced. It is also possible to view that print-on-demand is really just for the highest rarity unique cards and just buy extra common and rare from eBay in bulk that were opened from booster packs by those players who have bought tons of display boxes, as in other TCGs. In which case, I think it's reasonable to have higher print-on-demand's price point to ensure each physical unique card have at least minimum value. What's your thought on this topic? Feel free to put a comment or reply in an original Reddit post. In the Theory Crafting series, I'd like to share my personal hypothesis that relates to actual gameplay technique. Since I'm just a casual TCG enthusiast, while I won't be able to give you the winning recipe, it is my hope this series will help outlining some systematic thought process when playing Altered TCG, rather than just going by a hunch. I'm totally open to constructive criticism, suggestion, or if you have your own theory to share, please feel free to put in the comments. When playing TCG, it's crucial to have consistent yet adaptable game plan to increase win rate. While experienced players may do this subconsciously, I found it most helpful to view game plan as having 3 layers or levels, which are closely interrelated. These are strategy, role, and tactics. In common terms, strategy is a long-term plan. Tactics is short-term plan. While there is no unanimous definition for TCG, I'm going to share the definitions that allow me to talk about each game plan component separately. Since strategy is an overall plan, I like to use this term to describe the deck's innate or natural game plan. Many common TCG deck strategies have names, so-called archetypes. Many of these originate from Magic the Gathering, but the generic name archetypes are adaptable in different TCGs. These include such as aggro, control, combo, tempo, mid-range, ramp, and others. We want to have a consistent strategy when building a deck. While it may be tempting to make a deck that can do many things, a well-built deck tends to have one or two focused winning plan. If you're using pre-constructed deck or net decking, we want to understand the deck strategy and pilot it as such. Strategy is worth of coverage by itself, so I won't go in detail today. Since tactics refers to short-term plan, I use to describe in-round game plan in Altered. Depending on drawn cards, what's in the reserve, board status, the round tactics need to be adapted with role and strategy in mind. The main focus of today's podcast is the role. This is inspired by Magic the Gathering classic strategy article, Who's the Beatdown? In the world of Altered, there is no violence, so the word beatdown does not thematically make sense. Since the game is race between player, let's call it who is the sprinter. In any match, there is only one true sprinter. Sprinter players' general game plan is to progress your own expedition as fast as possible. This is because you believe your deck can reach the goal sooner than the opponent even if they do the same. In the original article, opposite of beatdown was called control. Since I'm using the race analogy with Altered, let's call opposite of the sprinter as marathon role player. The general plan for marathon player is to prolong the game until you gain advantage over the opponent. The advantage can be in the form of a card numbers, board status, or more powerful cards at higher cost. So the role part of the game plan concept is simple. Sprinter player should recognize as such and take the role. Marathon player do the same. If one of the player misalign themselves, they can cost the game. Whether consciously or subconsciously, experienced players are doing this in every game. Amongst the Altered starter deck, Bravo deck is a good example of traditional so-called aggro archetype. For those of you who are not familiar with TCG terms, aggro archetype is a strategy that tries to win as fast as possible. So its strategy is built to be sprinter. Control archetype is the opposite spectrum. Amongst the starter decks, Izmir can be viewed as controller archetype. So when there are two decks have a match between Bravo and Izmir, Bravo should take a sprinter role and Izmir should take marathon role. If Izmir player misaligns to sprinter role, they will significantly disadvantage themselves against Bravo and result in loss of a game because Bravo player can reach goal faster due to more efficient low-cost characters that they have. Now, what if the match is against the Otis starter deck? Otis starter deck builds up its advantage over the time. In a late game, I feel Otis have more powerful tools than the Izmir. So in these match, I personally prefer to play sprinter role using Izmir against Otis because I do not want to go later game with Otis. These examples exemplify role is determined based on the relationship between the player's own and opponent deck strategy and should be adjusted for each match. This is one of the reasons why knowing popular decks in the meta environment would be advantageous. Once the correct role is determined, players should try to stick with the role unless one finds good enough reason to switch or potentially misaligned. One of the most challenging cases of correct role determination is the mirror match. Due to the nature of TCG, even with mirror match, there will be variance between two decks over the course of the game. These variants include who is the first player and drawn cards. While it is impossible to know all this information at the beginning of the game, experienced players gauge these based on their initial hand and adjust during each round. If you want to try out the theory yourself, the best way is jump onto BGA and start playing. It's much easier to practice these skills when you are familiar with what opponent deck does. So I think the current 6-starter deck only environment in the board game arena is perfect to do this. That's all I got for this episode. Now it's your turn.